In tonight's episode of Fear the Walking Dead, entitled Laura, we get to learn more about John Dorie with an IE, where he was living, and more about Naomi. So first, let's start with the whole. Clearly, she was not his wife. I think we got a lot more insight into John in this episode, which is good because I really enjoy John. I did not enjoy 90% of the Laura bits. She basically came off as an asshole. And I get that she's, going through trauma, as they all are. They've all lost. They've all had loss. They've all, something's happened to all of them. And this man's been living alone in an entire town for God knows how long. Well, basically, he says since it happened, because they closed the roads.
Yeah.
It was clear that he wasn't the rapist. It was clear that he wasn't the killer. And I felt like
opposite.
Her reaction was very bizarre. No one really had to leave. And they could have scavenged for, other good people like Aaron did to build up a small community. Like, that is literally the safest place in the apocalypse. No one knows it's there. There's hardly any trouble with walkers. They could easily, build up that fence on the bridge so that nothing comes downstream. There's no enemies. There's no saviors. There's no nothing. There's no nothing. And, there's no vultures. So I really hope that they eventually go back to this cabin place that John leads, Morgan and whoever else back there, and they can just have a safe. I know there's not a whole lot of story there at that point, but it would be nice to have just refuge for a while. But yet I don't like Laura, and she does sound like Carol, which is disturbing.
Yeah, she sounds like uncannily like Carol. It's weird. The cadence of her voice and the voice tone, even like the way her face is framed. I feel like she could play Carol 20 years younger or something. It's weird.
Give her a wig with Melissa McBride's haircut.
So first of all,
they kind of look alike.
First of all, I gotta say, I loved this episode. I thought that it was just so well done. I felt like it had the same vibe and appeal of what made The Walking Dead so popular in the first place. Like, really, really just focused on like the character interactions and not really having much to do, if anything, with the walkers. It was more about the people and like the struggle between the characters. And I think it's quite impressive that the only two actors in the whole show were just them. There was no other, Morgan at the end, but that was like for a minute. The whole episode basically was just these two. Like, it actually reminded me a lot of the Morgan Eastman episode in a way, because it was kind of a similar scenario. It wasn't romantic, obviously, but like, they're like in a safe place in a cabin that's like in the woods, you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of they were next to a lake, similar elements. And the fact that they were able to make that entertaining and like keep the tension going was awesome to me. With that being said, man, I hate Laura. She is fucking awful, which is testament to the writers. They did a good job of making us hate her. She did a ton of different things that simultaneously made her character less likable and John's character more likable. Like, here's this dude who's just chilling by himself, and then she like washes up on shore half dead. He goes out of his way to not just like clean her wound and give her like, clean clothes. He like gives her his bed, goes like super out of his way to take care of her. Yeah, he went so far out of his way to take care of this woman, and her response, there's like so many different little things where, she like didn't tell him his name. Like, he had to make up a fake name for her and say like, oh, you look like a Laura, I'm just gonna call you Laura. Like, how weird is that? She won't even tell.
Yeah, the whole.
She won't even say her name.
The name
like,
thing was
dude.
weird to me. Like, you don't have, like, she literally had no currency, and she could have just been like, well, here's my name, John.
Yeah.
My name is Naomi. Blah blah blah.
Oh God, I couldn't believe she stole that pistol. Like, after.
You mean twice? Oh, the first time. He gave it to her the second time.
He gave it to her the second time, which I had a feeling was going to happen. It's like, she could have fucking asked for the pistol and he probably would have given it to her. Like, what possessed this woman to just, like, take this dude's like precious possession, which he obviously cares about a ton. She walked in on him cleaning it meticulously on his porch, and then she feels the need to take one of them. What the hell is wrong with her?
First, let me
Not
say this
cool.
before I forget. The fact that John is a police officer and he basically left the job and felt this tremendous guilt after accidentally killing that's what I'm looking for.
A guy who was a robber at a gas station.
Yeah. And what was most interesting to me about that was this story could have been told a lot of different ways. Typically, you hear of, a police officer shooting someone. It was, I fear for my life, or, they always end up getting shot center mass. It's never the arm to drop their weapon or the leg, which is what John was trying to do. And the fact that he was trying to shoot him in a way that would disarm him without killing him. The only reason why the guy died was because he moved just as he was being shot, which made him hit an artery. The simple fact that his first thought, he announced who he was. I'm a police officer, put down your weapon. The guy wouldn't put down his weapon. And he goes to shoot him in the leg. Says a lot about his character. I was not expecting that. I thought he was going to say, well, I shot him, I pumped him up full of bullets, and
I overreacted.
Then his gun was full of blanks or something like that, or he had no gun at all. That's the story that we heard repeatedly over and over.
Yeah.
I wish there were more cops like John Dorie. And it's sad that he's fiction.
It's really interesting. There's a subtle, some kind of a statement going on there with the storyline about how like this is the type of person who you kind of wish was a cop. Somebody who's like actually overtrained in how to use weapons. I mean, like, so ridiculously...
And doesn't want to use them.
Right. It's, like, so ridiculously overtrained that they could hit, like, any target ever that they try to, but still doesn't want to, right? Which is, like, the type of person that you want to be a cop. It's almost like...
No, you want the cop who aims for the leg or the arm.
It's the polar opposite of the cop that we hear about in news stories today, which is really interesting. Because I thought it was going to be the same thing. Like, when we were watching the episode, like, you said something about, like, oh, God, he shot a black kid or something. And I was like, oh, fuck, it is going to be that. I was expecting that, but wasn't that.
We don't know what race the person was, but the fact remains is that he tried to shoot him in a way that wouldn't kill him.
Yeah.
Which you never hear.
And he was off duty, too. He wasn't even on the job. He said he was off duty and just pulled up to get gas. And, like, he also said that he tried to talk him down. He said, like, just drop it, and the guy wouldn't do it. And even when he turned around, his life was in danger at that point when the guy turned around because he had a gun and wasn't dropping. And he still didn't shoot him center mass, which means that he put his own life at risk by not taking a kill shot, which he's totally capable of doing. Like, we saw in the first scene of this season, that walker who was, like, far away, he shot from the hip and hit him right in the head, which means that in a second he could have taken this guy down without even thinking about it, and he still didn't do it. That says a lot about his character.
Although I do think it's weird that why not shoot, if the guy is armed, why not shoot him in the shoulder? Or maybe, is that more likely to...
Yeah, because, like, I mean, you could hit... There's arteries up here, too. I mean, like, I think the leg was a smarter choice.
He went for the safer
Plus,
bet.
if you hit, like, even if you hit here, like, the guy could still, like, run away. You know what I mean? He was trying to disable him, but not kill him, so he couldn't run away. Like, that was, like, the way that I got it. And, like, so that's another interesting thing about his character is that he feels guilty about that. I mean, to me, that seems like a totally... justifiable, you know what I mean?
If they give a flashback, which they probably won't, you'd probably see John trying to,
tourniquet it and
stop the bleeding.
That seems like something that he would do. He is like a sensitive, pure, gentle soul at the end of the day.
It's really sad. He admitted to loving this woman whose name he didn't even know. So it's no wonder that he took to Morgan so quickly. Like the two people who he's seen after a long stretch of not talking to anyone. First was Laura, and then it was Morgan. And
you can
he immediately stands down to giving up on everything when Morgan says, "If that's how you feel, I will leave right now." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Okay, no, I don't believe it. Don't leave."
Yeah.
You know,
you can see now why he was like talking to himself and stuff in that first episode. Like, I haven't talked to anybody in over a year and like all that stuff. Like, that makes perfect sense now seeing the flashback. Which, God, that makes like Laura even worse because this dude just said that he loved you instead of just turning him down and making it quick, she, like, made him more attached to her than he already was by sleeping with him, and then she fucking goes after all that? What the hell is wrong with her?
I made a terrible joke earlier. So maybe it wasn't that good. she let the D go. No, I mean, then she spelled out that she loved him too. It just didn't make sense for her to leave. I didn't understand the reasoning.
She gave no explanation whatsoever for anything that she did, basically.
We'll probably get a bottle episode on her at some point.
I mean, if she supposedly lost her child, and, like, we don't really know what that means, it's you know, ambiguous, sorry. Whether or not the kid is dead or not dead. If the kid is not dead, then why would you not take somebody like John along with you? My God, he's like the perfect partner in the apocalypse. He's ethical, he's moral, he knows how to defend himself better than, like, anybody. He's smart. He thought about building moats and stuff like that, which we haven't seen anybody else do.
Trenches.
He knows how to get food on his own. He's perfectly suited for the apocalypse, and she chooses to go out on her own?
Well, you know,
leave him behind.
For some reason, she was hell-bent on being alone and not building attachments for some reason. Clearly, John's the kind of man who could take care of, like, him getting into a bit of trouble or something stupid or hurting himself is very unlikely. The probability is low. So he would have been a better bet to have a companion. But it seems like she was hell-bent on being isolated for reasons I still understand. I don't think she was looking for her kid. Because when Alicia and them find her, she is just kind of scavenging. It doesn't say she was going in any particular direction.
She also didn't mention this kid, quote unquote, to Alicia, which is interesting.
But she gave them her real name.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what we think, maybe that's not real either. You know, we don't really know.
I think she did lose a kid, and I think Naomi is her real name. But I don't know. I thought her whole arc with him was stupid.
I just don't understand. Like, I mean, John seems like the kind of guy who would be a catch in the regular world. You know what I mean? He's like the perfect guy. Like,
and even though he was terribly lonely, he wasn't terribly needy.
No,
which I like about him.
No,
like, he was about to walk away.
Yeah, he gave her space and stuff. He wasn't like trying to like stay in the bed with her and stuff. No, he was just honest about the way that he felt. It's like,
which he wasn't even going to say if she hadn't pressed.
He was a great catch under normal circumstances. In the apocalypse, woman, you struck gold. What are you doing? Like, seriously, we haven't seen a place like that anywhere in the whole universe.
Which brings me to that totally gave me a plot bunny for an alternate universe where Rick and Michonne meet that way. I'm still pondering that, but
like, dude, she's so fucking lucky. Like, can you imagine if, like, the person or persons who was staying at that place was somebody like the Claimers from The Walking Dead or like Gareth's group or something? Like, she is so lucky that she ran into somebody like him and to like throw it away. Simon. Yeah, exactly. Or Negan, who's like, want to become one of my wives? What? I'll feed you forever if you become one of my wives.
What I mean is, if she ran into just one guy, I think Negan by himself, all that nonsense that he was doing, because he wouldn't have an audience.
Yeah.
All that nonsense wouldn't be there. Simon was clearly fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What's his name? Gareth?
Gavin?
Gareth. It's fucking cannibal. Any one of those claimers that is the rapist and the killer. You know what I mean?
Like, most of the time when you meet somebody like in the apocalypse who's crazy enough to survive somehow, there's usually something really bad or messed up about them, especially if they have a following and a group around them. That's even worse. And so she stumbles upon this dude who's like offering his bed to her and stuff and cooking her food and like dressing her wound. My God.
He talks, he has personality.
And he's got skills.
Imagine if that had been Daryl. Very, very tight-lipped.
God.
It would be like he's not a conversationalist.
It's no wonder that Daryl has not gotten laid in the entire show, when you really think about it.
If I had to be trapped, in a little town where no one else is there but one dude, John would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, what more could you want? Seriously.
I mean, he knows a lot of, big syllable words, which is important. Like,
He practices vocabulary. That's how the thing opened, was him, like, practicing vocabulary to himself. Like,
he plays Scrabble with himself.
and, like, you can just see by his behavior that he's fucking smart. Like, building those moats. Like,
And
that was really smart.
He jerry-rigged an alarm clock.
Yeah,
He has a great routine.
he did a lot of stuff that was
busy.
really smart. And plus, dude has mad skills. Like, that scene where, like, the walkers were piling up on her and he, like, takes out his pistols and wastes, like, 12 of them in, like, 5 seconds. Like, dude, that was crazy. Holy shit. I mean, like, Rick's a good shot. But
he ain't like that.
He's got nothing on this guy.
No.
like that was insane.
His last job
He's
was trick shooting.
Yeah, and which we absolutely believe, obviously, because, like, he is a freak. Like, that was crazy. That was really fun to watch. I loved that scene. He's the perfect person for the apocalypse. I just don't understand, like, why she's acting like this, and why is she doing that with every single person that she comes across? Why did she do that with Alicia?
But she stays with them at the end of the day.
But
After Madison jumped into that, which was dumb. I would let that bitch die. She jumped into that tank full of walkers.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, bet you wish you came with us now. And I would have been on my way.
Yeah, she's annoying. I really
jump
don't.
into like a sewage pit, someone I don't know. Would I jump into a sewage pit full of walkers where it's dark?
Hell
I can't see. No, it better be a little kid that fell in that damn well. And even then, I'd be like, ooh, they're probably gonna be dead, but before I even get down there. Unless it's my kid, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Just give them 100.
I think after seeing this episode, I think it kind of, like, confirms what we were already thinking at the beginning of the season, which is that, like, I think really, like, John is being set up as the main character of the show.
No, I think we were just learning more about him because he's gonna be to the right of Morgan, who's the new lead of the show. It's Lenny. This is Lenny's Daryl.
Well, let's hope that this Daryl doesn't act like as much of a moron as the real Daryl has been acting as.
John's good. He's good.
Yeah, I hope this, like, level of likability maintains, because so far he seems like pretty much the perfect character, and I hope that there's, like, nothing coming up that's gonna make us be like, oh god, here comes the dumb decision making coming down the pipeline. We'll just have to see what happens. If you guys like our content, make sure to subscribe right up here in the corner. Also, go ahead and follow all of our social channels here at the bottom of the screen. And definitely check out the blog, thelivingroomshown.com. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.